In the last session, I was discussing about three alternatives to look up the data. The one was VLOOKUP, second was HLOOKUP. VLOOKUP, which we studied in the last session, HLOOKUP, which we are going to study in this session. Hello data nerds, welcome back to the Google Sheet playlist of the Data Girl. In this video, we are going to study about HLOOKUP. Even before I tell you the formula of HLOOKUP, how does it work, what is the syntax, I want you to understand the difference between VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Why do we even have two different kind of formula, and how can we replace these two different formula with one? All these things I want to discuss with you right now. As you can see on my screen, this is the data set for HLOOKUP. Okay, but before we dive deep in the HLOOKUP session, I want you to look back VLOOKUP data. So in VLOOKUP, V stands for vertical. We are looking up for the data vertically, right? So here, how the data was arranged, here the data was arranged vertically. We had customer ID, we had name, we had region, and then we had sales, right? In our first question, what did we do? We had customer ID and we wanted to look for sales. So when we wrote the formula, we mentioned search key, then we mentioned the range. When it came to mention the index, how did we count the index? 1, 2, 3, 4. Since sales was in fourth column, hence we wrote fourth as in the place of index. But it's exactly opposite in HLOOKUP. In HLOOKUP, the H stands for horizontal. So here the data will be arranged horizontally, and when we'll count the index, we will count it horizontally. We'll count the row wise, will not count it column wise. That's how it's very important to understand when are we going to use VLOOKUP and when are we going to use HLOOKUP. So whenever the data is arranged vertically, you are going to use VLOOKUP. And when the data is arranged horizontally, you're going to use HLOOKUP. You understood how data being arranged vertically looks like. Now I'm going to show you how data being arranged horizontally looks like. This is how data which is arranged horizontally looks like. Here we have products written like shoes, shirts, bags, watches, jackets, and we have sales written like row-wise, January, February, March, April, May. This data is arranged horizontally, and it will be more clear to you when I'll start writing the formula. So this was our data set, okay? And let's understand the question. The question says, find March sales for shoes. Okay, so we are going to write HLOOKUP. Search key, what is the search key? Search key is shoes here. So we are going to write shoes. This is also, so either we can just write the customer ID, the shoes, the product, whatever search key is, either we can write it or even we can give the cell reference like C2, A2. Here I just want to write it. Then comes range. It goes exactly in the same way. We'll go here and shift control right arrow. We are going to select the whole data. Then comes index. This is what I was talking about, and this is where there's a difference which comes between HLOOKUP and VLOOKUP. So now comes index. What did we want to find? We wanted to find the sales of March. Okay. Now in VLOOKUP, we were counting the index like 1, 2, 3, 4 column wise. But in HLOOKUP, we are going to count the same thing in row wise. Okay. So this first row would be our first index. Okay. The second row would be our second index. Month, sales, shirts and all. This was our first index. Jan and the sales was our second index. Feb and the sales was third index. And March is fourth index. But row wise. So we are going to write 4 and then same thing. We do not want Google Sheet to guess, just want the exact value. Hence we wrote that. We got 6,000. Let's check that manually once. March. In March month, the sale of shoe was 6,000. Right? So that's how we got it. Now the second question comes, enter product name in F2 and return July sales. If you remember, we did the same thing. We created an automatic thing where anybody, or I gave you the example of your manager, she can write any customer ID and she'll get the region, right? Similarly, same thing we are going to do in HLOOKUP as well. So it says that enter product name in F2 and return by July sales. So anywhere we are going to write the product name. So here it should be the product name. Any product name I should write here, and I should get the sales in E3. Okay, this is how it should work. That's what our ask is. So suppose if I write, for example, I'll first give you an example manually, watches. Okay, if I write watches here, so this is how it's going to work. I'm going to write the product name here, and I should get the July sales of that product automatically. Okay, fine. So for example, if manually we check, if I wanted to write jackets, okay, if I write jackets here, I should get July sales of jacket, which is 9,800, automatically written here, 9,800. Okay, and I don't have to do manually thing which I just did. I don't want to repeat this again. Okay, let's start writing HLOOKUP. HLOOKUP, search key. What is going to be our search key? This column, this cell is going to be our search key D5, because this is the place where we are going to enter the product's name. Okay, so this will be our search key. The range, the data range would be same. It would be from A to Q, and then we have index. Okay, we wanted to search for July sales, correct? Let's come here and look for July here. July is here. Let's count. Remember, since this is HLOOKUP, we are going to count horizontally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Generally, July is the 7th month, but since we have this first row as month and the products, that's why July is falling on 8th place. And then again, we do not want Google Sheet to guess. So, okay. Similar concept. Since the search key is blank here, that's why the formula is throwing an error. I think we saw this similar situation in VLOOKUP. The moment I write jackets here, let me write jackets. I got 9,800, right? Now let me change the product name. Maybe I'll write gloves. Make sure you write the exact spelling because it's 2,100. You see, July, what was the July month sales of gloves? It was 2,100. Let's change the product. We'll write scarves. And what should be our result? It should be 3,100. And ta-da, we got 3,100. So this is how it works. Okay. Now, what if I write something which does not match in the product cell? Maybe I make a mistake in spelling, or I write something complete out of dataset which is not even present in the dataset. What happens then? Let's make some mistake deliberately. So here we have quotes, right? I will write quote. What happens? It throws an error, right? And I told you in the last session how to handle these kind of error. How are we going to handle this? We are going to use something called if error. If error, okay? So this whole formula would be value, comma, what do you want to appear when the formula is going to throw the error? I want this text to be appearing, which is not found. Okay, so now when you make a mistake while entering the product's name, you are not going to see the error. You are going to see something called not found. Okay, so let's take another examples. Let's write boots. First we'll write the correct name and then we are going to change it to the right. Okay, so boots July sales was 6,600, so we got it. What if I remove the S? I'll get not found. So this looks more professional. Okay, now comes the second part. Here, when the first formula which I wrote, and in the place of search key, I hard-coded the product's name. I did not use the cell reference. Okay, but here we are going to learn how to use cell reference. Let's understand. HLOOKUP. And instead of writing watches, I'm going to take the cell reference of the cell where this watch is present. So this watch is present where A14. So I'm going to take the cell, I'm going to refer the cell, and then range. Again, same thing. We are going to select the whole range where data set is present. And then comes index. What did we want, by the way? Let's understand. We wanted June sales, correct? We wanted the June sales. Let's see where is the month June. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Then false. 4,800, right? Now we are going to find the same product sales of watch only, but in July month as well. Everything will remain same except the index number. Now the index number will change. What will be our search key? Search key will still be the watches because that's what we are looking for. With respect to the search key, we are looking for the sales. So our search key will be the watches, and then the range of data, which is of course A from here, and then comes index. So this time we wanted July sales, which is falling in the 8th row, okay, and then we do not want any guessing things to happen. 4900. Let's write the same for December. I'm writing it again and again so it will be more clear for you that how am I changing the formula depending upon the requirement. That's why, otherwise I would have just copied, pasted, and I'll change the index number. That is also a way, but when you have hands-on, you can do that. But currently I'm writing it again, so you'll have a better understanding. And then the data range again. If you think that you are better at it, just change the index, nothing else. Then we want December, right? So this will be, I think, our 13th row, and no guessing. That's it. We got watches, June sales, July sales, December sales, all of these just with one formula. And what are we going to do? We're just going to copy paste the formula, and we got it. So now we are done with VLOOKUP and we are done with HLOOKUP as well. But the thing is, don't you think that we have to always look at the data set and understand that, okay, if this data is arranged vertically, then we are going to use a different formula, and if this data is arranged horizontally, then we are going to use a different formula. Isn't it too much of a lot of formula in the picture, right? Don't you want to replace all these formula and just have that one advanced and good formula that will work for everything? Why not? Why do have a bunch of formula and get confused with it? For that only we have XLOOKUP. XLOOKUP handles all of these. XLOOKUP does not limit while handling from left to right or right to left. It handles all kind of data. It handles the data which is arranged vertically or horizontally, or we are looking for something which is present in the left side and the search key is right, which is a limitation of VLOOKUP. XLOOKUP handles all this limitation and gives you the result the way you want. So that's why in our next session, we are going to learn XLOOKUP formula. But before that, I want you to take some time and learn the difference between VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Do some trial and error, take a small data set and make some conditions on your own and try to write these formula. Because when you write these formula, you'll understand what was the limitation and why did we actually need XLOOKUP. So that will be easier. So when you come back to watch the XLOOKUP session, it will be clearer in your mind that, okay, that was the reason why we had this formula invented and this is so helpful. So when you actually try something on your own, that gives you better understanding than just watching videos. I always recommend this. Please try on your own. Just watching video is not going to do anything. You will fumble in interviews when it comes to life problems. You'll not be able to solve. So please give some time and do some practice, do some trial and error, think of some condition and apply that, and that's how you're going to learn. And until then, bye-bye.